Hey, good morning, everybody. Moss Jackson. Welcome to Mondays with Moss. This is a weekly video series program directed at living a great life, because I think you deserve to live a great life. Well, this has been a really, really challenging year. I think the Chinese have an expression, may you live an interesting life. Man, this has been an interesting, challenging year. And we got through a year. So we're starting to move out of the pandemic. We got the vaccine now. But I want to talk about, some implications about that in a minute. But I was thinking about, what can we do to make our next move to start to thrive again, not just striving. So it's been difficult in many ways. We had the pandemic, we had economic strain, racial tension, political chaos. 500,000 people died. There's been a rise in divorce, anxiety, and depression through the strain of this pandemic. It's been very difficult. And I think what's happening now, people are just having a hunger, like they've been starved for affection, for relationships. We're seeing people become swarmers. They're developing swarms of people going to the beach, going to restaurants. My wife and I went out to a restaurant last night down here at the beach at Brigantine. And it was decent social distancing, but man, oh man, the people were just humming. It was like you could just feel the vibration of that. Can we just spend more time together? Well, relationships are really, really key. What we've discovered during this year, we don't do well. I mean, we survived it, but it's not as bad as solitary confinement. But some people have been totally alone. And those people have had a really difficult time with depression and suicide and anxiety. But we have discovered, and we've known this for a long time, relationships are a vital key to your health and happiness. Studies of the dying, of the aged people who are dying, two of the key factors, more than anything, more than diet, whatever, really, really important for survival and feeling good are close relationships and daily encounters with people, social relationships. In any relationship you have, you need to deal with others. We know that. You have to be involved with people, but you have to know how to deal with people. And I want to talk to you today about something called becoming an emotional relationship manager, a manager of your emotional relationships. Okay? There's a law in physics. It's called the Law of Entropy. Everything deteriorates over time. Everything. Trains deteriorate, planes deteriorate, buildings fall down, plumbing falls apart, our bodies fall apart. Nothing exists forever. I mean, nature keeps coming back, but it lives and it dies. It lives and it dies. It renews. We human beings haven't figured out a way yet to live a long, long time or forever. But the law of entropy says everything comes and goes. Well, not only does the physical things deteriorate, relationships deteriorate. In relationships, people's feelings get hurt. We break our promises. There are betrayals and misunderstandings. Unresolved conflicts that go on for years, if not decades and generations, and between generations. I see people in my therapy practice, who've been in conflict for a dozen, 20 years. Brothers have spoken to each other for 50 years. Conflicts that have gone from one generation to the other. People grow apart. We have expectations and desires that do not get realized. Life is not turning out the way we want. Too bad, but that is the way it is. So most of us, in terms of relationship, being emotional relationship managers, do not do a very good job managing the emotional climate, the climate between ourselves and other people. Whatever it is, marriages, partnerships, families, work friendships. Now, why is that? Well, as I said for a moment ago, we have expectations that don't get realized. We develop these expectations in childhood, how life should be, how I should be treated. I have one couple, for example, a number actually, where one partner basically thinks, if he or she really loved me, I wouldn't have to tell them what I need. They would know. Now, that's kind of a child point of view. If my parents loved me, they would know. I wouldn't have to tell them. Most kids don't know how to tell them. They act out. Adults, we act out too. If we don't get our needs met, we withdraw, we get angry, we get revenge. Every other couple where one person in the relationship is so afraid of his spouse's anger, he just avoids, and he stonewalls and avoids, which feeds into her feeling neglected. So we don't do a good job managing these relationships. I mean, when did you ever take a course in how to manage a relationship? I mean, what I'm doing here in Mondays with Moss, basically 52 things you need to know, is each week we're looking at a kind of a key skill or way of thinking. So this week is managing your emotional relationship. So we take things too personally. We get hurt. You know, people don't really wake up in the morning. Hey, Dan, most people do not wake up in the morning thinking about how to make your life miserable. It's hard enough for them to get through their day, much less think of you. We blame and criticize. We find it very hard to take responsibility for the upset. We blame someone else for doing it to us. We get defensive. It's hard to hear someone being upset. Our bodies rattle. Our nervous systems get really shaken up. We say, no, it's not true, not true, not true. How about you? We do counterattacks. Or we avoid and hide out. We just don't communicate. We hide out and do something else. So as an emotional relationship manager, you manage your upsets. You manage your misunderstandings. You move from misunderstanding into mutual understanding. Help me understand. You move from lack of cooperation into cooperation. How do you do that? You do that through powerful conversations and seeking mutual understanding. Okay, I'm going to talk the next time probably about what's a powerful conversation. Powerful conversation is a really important skill set. So my way of thinking about how do you engage. You do that by doing a soft startup. Hey, I want to run something by you. I'm really bothered. Not a hard startup. I can't fucking believe you did that again. Okay? An emotional relationship manager takes time to listen. You got to manage yourself first. You got to calm yourself down, but you seek to listen. You seek to empathize. You look for a different perspective. Just because you have a strong emotion doesn't make you right. Okay? You move out of right or wrong thinking and you start to practice reconnecting. You ask yourself, what's more important? My being right or being connected? Okay? So you have skills that are required. In my practice as a clinical psychologist and marital therapist and family therapist, there are basic skills I've seen over the years that are really important. One is you need to have self-awareness. You need to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. I have a guy I'm seeing now, and he says every time we talk in our video therapy, he and his wife are working together, and I ask both of them, so when we talk about this situation, what are you feeling in your body? He says he feels it in his stomach sinks. His wife feels it in her chest. So emotions are pressure, they're energy. So you need to become self-aware. Where am I feeling the tension? And how high is my tension? Is it 1, which is pretty low, very low? 10 is very high. It's like a forest fire. So you got to know, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? Am I being defensive? That's self-awareness, okay? You don't learn that for the most part any time in your life. That's what we do as therapists. We teach you how to do that. Number 2 is learn self-control. How do you regulate yourself? Particularly fear and anger. So you don't explode because you're upset. You're upset, you take a deep breath, you back off, you shut your mouth when you're angry, you calm down. Too many relationships get damaged and distrust happens when you're angry and you think you're right and you think venting is then the appropriate thing to do. It isn't. It's destructive. It's like what babies do. They yell, they wail. You don't do that. Number 3, you develop the skill called empathy, which is get off your point of view and listen to someone else. Hey, look, this is how I see it. You may not see it the same way. I'm interested in how you look at it. Help me understand it from your point of view. I'll tell you my point of view, and then let's figure out what are we going to do about it. Okay? So the 4th skill is problem solving and resolving conflicts. When Judy, my wife, and I did the program on resolving conflicts, we got 1,500 people viewing. My God, I never had that before. So the skills required in relationship, being an emotional relationship manager, are self-awareness, self-control, empathy, and problem solving. Okay? So what I'm doing over this several months is 52 things you need to know, one skill a week. So today it's become an emotional relationship manager. Okay, so the bottom line is this. Become an emotional relationship manager. If it appeals to you, take that one on. I'm giving you a promotion. Instead of being an hysterical person, become an emotional relationship manager. Remember this. All relationships have to be managed. If you leave it to itself, it just turns into chaos. The law of entropy says it all will fall apart. You got to manage it. Also, if you, it's kind of like a garden. Like I'm looking forward to this spring. I'll go out and start to do some weeding. Because a garden, you got to pull the weeds and you got to water the plants. That's a relationship. You got to take care of each other and deal with the stuff that's going on in the relationship. You can't avoid it. Stop attacking. Breakdown and misunderstandings happen. Get used to it. They happen. They happen to everybody. No one is immune. I've never met any couple, any partnership in business, any family business. Breakdowns occur. You just have to say, a breakdown occur. What happened? You want to take a look at the notion that understanding, developing respect and trust, safety and reconnecting do not just happen. But as an emotional relationship manager, they can happen if you listen, if you empathize, if you appreciate different points of view, you know how to self-express without being a hostile reptile, and you need to become solution and problem focused. So being an emotional relationship manager is essential, but it's probably the toughest and most important part of having relationships at work. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little talk. It's a little shorter than others. I'm trying to shorten my talks. So if you're interested, get in touch with me. We'll talk some more. If you like what I'm saying, take a look at my first book, Navigating for Success. That kind of an interesting book that wraps a lot of this. But I like this notion of becoming an emotional relationship manager, because if not, Law of Entropy says it's all going to turn to shit. All right, guys? Have a good day, a good week. Get out in the sun. Enjoy the sun. Socialize, but wear your mask. See you soon, I hope. Bye-bye.